So in a moment of insanity, I put it out on social media and then I couldn't turn back. So here I am. My name is Julie Christensen. I am a registered psychotherapist, an author, and a public speaker. And this is my one-woman show. How did I get here? Yeah. Oh, how's it going, eh? Yeah, you know what? I used to think that I was pretty smart. I thought I was pretty smart. I thought I knew what was going on. I had my stuff together. Working as a mechanical engineer, making pretty good money, got a wife with the kids and the buds, right? That's what life's all about. You go to work, you work hard, you make your money. Then you go out and party on the weekend, eh? That what you do? I could hold my liquor. I could. That's what I thought anyways. But anyway, bet you're wondering why I look like this, eh? Well, let me tell you what. It's winter time. What do you do in the winter with your buds? You go out snowmobiling and drinking. That's what you do. We could all hold our liquor, so no big deal. I'm out with the guys. We're out on the snowmobiles and we're, riding through the fields and we're racing each other and we're goofing off and we're pretty drunk, I guess. But like I say, I can hold my liquor, eh? I can. So here we are, we're riding along and everybody's hooting and hollering, we're having loads of fun, and next thing I know, I'm on my face in the snow. So I sit up and I'm like, oh, geez, what happened? But I can't see nothing. So I'm like, well, maybe I just knocked myself a little silly and this is what a concussion looks like. So I'm sitting there feeling no pain at all. My buddy comes over, he's laughing his head off. He's like, dude, did you see what you just did? Then next thing I know, he's puking his guts out in the snow. And I'm thinking to myself, that dude can't hold his booze, eh? Yeah. So he's puking. I'm looking around, can't see nothing. Then all of a sudden I hear all my other buddies going, don't worry, we're going to get an ambulance. It's going to be okay. And I'm like, what's the matter? I don't know what's wrong. Come to find out, here's what happened. So I went and run my snowmobile into a stump. Flew off that thing, landed on my arse with my face in my lap, and my head hit the ground so hard that a couple of things happened. I'll tell you what that was in a sec. So here I am sitting on my lap with my face folded over on the snow. Well, the reason I couldn't see nothing was because when I hit the ground with my head, my eyes popped out. They're hanging out of my head by the optic nerve sitting in the snow, so I couldn't see nothing. Here's all my buds puking their guts out and telling me they're getting an ambulance, and I can't see what's wrong with me, for real. So anyways, they plucked my eyes up, stuck them back in my head, but now I look like the Cookie Monster. Just don't work right anymore. This arm's no good. Just hangs here. Nerve damage, they said. And I can't ambulate, man. Can't walk at all, except for to transfer. That's all I do these days. I sit around in this chair and then I transfer to the toilet and I transfer to a chair and transfer to a car and transfer to my bed. Wife left. Kids are gone. Didn't want to be with a cripple, she said. Left me on my own, that's okay. I live here in this, what they call it, rehabilitation facility. Don't serve no booze in here, tell you that. But I thought I was pretty smart. Thought I understood what was going on. Thought I could hold my liquor. I really did. Yeah, you know how it is. Everybody in here says they innocent. I used to say the same thing myself. But truth is, I deserve to be in here. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. You know, I used to be one of them dudes on the road, out on the street, pushing drugs, giving them to little kids. Didn't care how I was wrecking homes, nothing. Just all I cared about was money, man. Just getting paper. Me, I got my best friend into the life, and me and him, we were just raking in the money like you wouldn't believe. We were doing real good. Except for then he got busted in a raid. Me too, of course. But we got busted in a raid and things didn't go so good for him. He got shot. Me, I'm down here. He's upstairs in the prison hospital, sitting and drooling and drooling and sitting. My best friend, man. He's in here because of me. They gonna let me out soon. And I got to make some decisions about what I'm gonna do. I mean, I could get back out on the street. I learned a lot in here in prison. You know what I'm saying? I could get back out on the street. I could work smarter. I could work harder. I could make sure I don't get caught again. But they let him out. He got no place to go. Tell the truth, they let him out. He not even gonna know where he is. For him, he still be in prison. Just a change of geography is all it is. So, I gotta decide. Am I gonna straighten myself out? Try to do the right thing? I gotta do the right thing for me and for him. Or I can just go back to the life, man. Easy money, easy pickings. Even if they pick me up again, I get 3 hots in a cot. Don't make no difference to me. But I think I got to do right by my friend. Whatever I do from here on out, I got to make things right for me and for him now. Yeah, you know how it is. Hi. Hi. You know, when I was a little kid, I told my mom that I wanted to be a nurse. But first, I was going to be a cooker at McDonald's. Yeah, I didn't get that right. You know, it all started for me in high school, I think, when I figured out that I had power. When I got to high school, you know, I had the looks, right? And I knew how to use them. And I was pretty and I was popular. And, you know, the guys kind of liked me a lot. And I realized that I could influence them just with this. See, here's the thing. My dad left when I was really young. Actually, he left before I was even old enough to cogitate. How's that for a big word? Cogitate. Customer taught me that. Yeah, he was gone. Never had a solid male figure in my life. And, you know, all them shrinky types would say I was just looking for male approval and all that kind of stuff, but really I just wanted somebody to stay. And I realized that when I flaunted this, I got lots of attention of the male sort. So, yeah, I kind of took advantage of that a little bit. It was fun. I mean, heady stuff, you know. All these guys following me around, everybody wanting to date me, never having to worry about dates for the semi-formals and then for prom, you know, like homecoming queen and all that fun stuff. It was great. But then, you know, high school is only 4 years, right? Like, that's not a whole lot of time to kind of set yourself up in the world. So, by the time high school was over, I had been in so many relationships and been with so many guys, and I was so, like, drunk on the power that I just thought, well, I might as well leverage that. And then I realized that guys were kind of not really interested in me. You know, they weren't interested in me, the person. They just wanted me for what I looked like. They didn't want me for who I was. So I thought, if people are going to use me for what I look like, I might as well get paid for it. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? It did at the time, anyway. But the thing is, I did a little modeling. It wasn't bad. I mean, I never made it big, obviously. Didn't make it big. Did some car shows and did a couple of, you know, nude things for like artists. It was artsy. I even did Sunshine Girl. I got the Sunshine Girl page in the Star. That was like the highlight, right? But it never really took off from there. And bills, you know, got bills to pay. So, I don't know, I guess one decision led to another. And next thing I know, I'm waking up here and had another night of dancing a pole with nothing but a G-string and my pasties and drinking too much tequila and smoking crack to get rid of the self-loathing. And I wake up in the morning and my head hurts and my teeth are furry and my stomach is sick and I got the shakes and I don't feel good at all, and I definitely don't feel good about myself. And I gotta ask myself, how did I get here? I kind of figured I don't want to do this anymore. Kind of thinking that maybe it's time for me to see if there's any of the real me left inside. And, you know, the men that are in my life, I don't want them to stay. They're not worth keeping around. So, I don't know what that leaves for me, except for to think that maybe I just want to see if maybe there's something left in me that's worth loving, and see if I'm even capable of love at all. It's going to be really hard. I got a lot of changes to make. I've never asked for help ever before in my life. But for the first time, I'm asking for help. Will you help me? Yeah. It started in grade 7. Like, over a boy. And like, you know, I don't even remember what his name was. It's funny. I got bullied because of him, though. It's dumb, right? I mean, you wouldn't believe the things they did. They used to beat me with belts at recess. Like, who brings belts to school just to whip somebody with? But that's what the kids did. Whip me with belts, and when we had assemblies, they would sit behind me in assembly and poke me with pins until I bled. And they knew I got sick every time I saw blood, and so it was like a double torture because they'd poke me and that hurt, and then I'd take my shirt off and there'd be blood all over it, and then I'd be sick. I can't even tell you the other things. They're so horrible. But they were nice when the teachers were around, and then they would torture me over a boy. It just got worse and worse after that. And when my parents complained to the school, they said something to the girls, and it wasn't anything really big. They just tried to make it look like they were helping, and then the bullying went underground. So they didn't do it at school anymore. They went cyber. Then I was getting messages all the time on Snapchat because those erase, and Facebook, and they made a page about me so that they could post all the things that they hated about me, and I started getting sick. Every time I thought about going to school, I just want to throw up, and so I was throwing up all the time, and my stomach was always sick, and I was anxious all the time, and then I didn't want to go, and I kept losing weight, and it was bad, and so I skipped school a lot. And then somebody started a rumor that I was pregnant, and that's why I wasn't coming to school, and that's why I was sick all the time. And when you're in grade 7, that's not cool, right? Like, that doesn't sound so good. So I just stopped going. And my mom had to homeschool me, and then they made fun of me because I was being homeschooled, and all the rumors went unanswered because I wasn't allowed to say anything, and I just get sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And then my mom took me to, I don't know, psychologist, psychiatrist, somebody, and they said that I had PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I was always anxious, and I was depressed, and I had nightmares and flashbacks and upset stomach, and every time I thought about school, I would start to tremble, kind of like now, and it was awful. I mean, I didn't think I would ever get over that. But my mom, she was awesome. She took me to a lot of great people, and I did art therapy, and I did music therapy, and they taught me how to get over the things that those kids did to me, and they taught me that that wasn't my fault. And even though I did alternative schooling, I finished my public school, and I finished high school, and now I'm in university. I'm doing my master's degree, and I'm doing it in social psychology. I'm actually, of course, studying bullying behavior, right? And I'm going to use my research to inform how the people who make legislation, how they set up bullying programs in the schools. And I started working for a not-for-profit, and they do anti-bullying work too. Actually, they don't call it anti-bullying work, they call it pro-social behavior. That sounds better to me. So I've been doing all this research with this not-for-profit in social psychology and pro-social behavior, and they like my ideas so much, they're sending me to all these academic conferences all over the world, so I get to speak to audiences and tell them about all the change we're making for bullying and making sure that kids don't get bullied at school anymore. You know what's funny about that? None of those kids thought that I would ever be smart enough or brave enough or popular enough to stand up in front of an audience of hundreds and thousands of people and talk about my research and my experience and how I'm taking all of that and making it for good. But I learned this. What happened to me wasn't my fault. I shouldn't have to carry around the consequences of other people's choices for the rest of my life, right? I have a choice. I can choose how I want to live the rest of my life. I can choose to let PTSD control me, or I can learn to manage my symptoms. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing now. And all those kids, in school that thought they were going to bury me, they didn't realize that I was a seed. I'm blooming now. Okay, I'm stepping out of character. Now I'd like to talk with you, the audience. My first question is, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A teacher.
Teacher.
Yeah.
Teacher too?
A lawyer.
Lawyer?
Cop.
A cop. Okay. Did anybody here think to themselves when you were 4 or 5 years old, or even 7 or 10 years old, did any of you think, when I grow up, I want to be hooked on drugs and I want to be a lap dancer?
No.
Pretty sure nobody thought that. I'm pretty sure that nobody thought, what I'd really like to do when I grow up is sell drugs and spend a lot of time in and out of prison. Pretty sure nobody thought that. I'm pretty sure nobody said, I would like to squander my good looks and be used by men for just a pittance of money in an exchange of drugs. No, nobody says that. But somehow this is where we end up. Nobody says, I think I want to be a drunk driver and ruin my opportunities to be a contributing member of society, right? No one says that. But somehow these things happen over and over and over again. And we have to wonder, how do we get there? How do we get there? Well, I have a theory. And that theory is that it starts with the thoughts that we think and the emotions that those thoughts create. So you think about our private dancer, right? Our exotic dancer. She had a very clear mindset, and that mindset was, I need to have power over men. I need to be able to control what men do because that's the only way I'll be able to make a man stay. And that thought process went even further. The only way that I can control whether a man stays or goes is by using my body. Once that thought took root, then whenever she didn't have power, perceived power, she felt anxiety. And so she would continue to do these things, to make these choices or act on these choices that took her down a road to where, like she said, she was waking up after not lap dancing, but pole dancing with a G-string and pasties and a furry mouth and an upset stomach and a hangover, and wondering, how did this happen, right? Sometimes we can't identify those specific choices that we make that take us to that place, but they're still there. If we track it back far enough, we'll at least be able to trace the line of thinking that took us there, if not the specific thoughts that we made. So I'd like to read you a little excerpt from Brendan Bircher's book, High Performance Habits. I just came across this the other day as I was prepping for tonight, and it really struck a chord with me, so I'm going to share this with you. What else could I do? The 3 Marines sitting around Isaac nod as a waitress refills their coffees. I ask, didn't you have a choice? He laughs. Well, there's always a choice. Right about then, I had 3 choices. Poop my pants, run away, or be a Marine. I asked him, what did you say to yourself as you ran towards the explosion? Isaac was on foot patrol when one of his platoon's vehicles hit an improvised explosive device. The explosion knocked him down and knocked him out. When he came to, he saw the vehicle smoldering, engulfed in a spiral of smoke, taking enemy fire. That's when he started running towards it. He said, you just think you don't want any of your men to die. That's all you really think is about the guys. Isaac stares out the cafe window and no one speaks. For a moment, everyone seems lost in his own stories. Sometimes, Isaac says, everything you are comes into play in a moment. It was just a few minutes. I remember it like it was a 2-hour movie. It's like your whole life and all that you stand for meets the needs of a moment. Then he looks down to his wheelchair. It just didn't end like I thought it would. I'm useless now. It's over. Isaac may never walk again. He's a hero for providing the cover and action that helped evacuate one of the survivors of the blast. He was shot just as they got the injured survivor, one of his close friends, to safety. One of the other Marines at the table says, it's not over, man. You'll recover. You're going to be just fine. Isaac huffs back, do you even see me? I can't help myself. I can't serve my country. What's the point? His friends look to me. You're right, I say. There is no point, unless you choose to make one. Either the point of your pain is to say to the world, this is how I've chosen to deal with this, by giving up. Or the point is to show yourself, your fellow Marines, and the world that nothing will stop you or the spirit of service in you. My words fall flat. Isaac just crosses his arms. I still don't see the point. One of his friends leans in. Isaac, you never will. If you don't have a reason to be, you're done. But the deal is, you choose the reason. You don't have to get better. Or you choose that you must get better. It's up to you. One choice sucks and makes your life miserable forever. The other gets you out of bed. Isaac murmurs, yeah, but why try? Then he's quiet. It's that silence no one wants to be a part of, watching someone on the edge, unsure whether to give up or live. I can tell it's frustrating his friends. Indecision isn't something Marines do well. Finally, one of his friends puts his face just inches from Isaac and looks at him with an intensity only a military man can get away with. Isaac, he says, you don't have any other choice, because you're going to obsess about your recovery the same way you trained for infantry, like a Marine, because your family is counting on you, because we're here for you, but we won't accept excuses, because a warrior's destiny is greater than his wounds. A warrior's destiny is greater than his wounds. You'll notice that our prisoner had E plus R equals O for his identification. E plus R equals O. That stands for event plus response equals outcome. Event plus response equals outcome. This means that it's not the event that happens that determines how your life is going to turn out. It's how you respond to what happens that determines your outcomes, right? So in every case, our decisions are what determine where our lives will eventually end up, our choices. So even though we may experience awful things, and we may think depressing or anxious thoughts, at the end of the day, we can choose. We can choose how we want to think, we can choose how we want to respond, We can choose what kinds of outcomes we want to work towards. That's really what this entire show has been about. It's been about helping us to get a better understanding of the fact that we actually have power. When we feel most helpless is when we feel as though we have no choices left, no options available. But we always have an opportunity to choose. You can choose the kinds of outcomes that you want. You can choose to say yes. You can choose to say no. You can choose to say not now. Right? You can choose to stay forward, move forward, or you can choose to stay behind. At the end of the day, the outcomes that you achieve will be a direct result of the choices that you make and the actions that you take. You can choose. This song is aptly titled, How Did I Get Here? Woke up this morning and I was gone. Didn't see me leaving. I thought that I was home. When I look in the mirror, the face I see's not me. It's just a shadow of my former self is all I see. How did I get here? Where did I go? How do I find the person that I used to know? How did I get here? How did I get here? What went wrong? Where is the light that used to shine? The spark, the song that was genuinely mine. Looking back, I wonder why didn't I just stay lost in the darkness? When will I find my way? How did I get here? Where did I go? How do I find the person that I used to know? How did I get here? How did I get here? What went